I'm Tim Neubauer, and this is a safety moment. Training records are as important as the training. As a safety auditor, I review a lot of training records. Unfortunately, a significant number of those reviews happen after an OSHA investigations began or legal proceedings have been initiated. In most cases, the employer had good intentions and they did conduct the training, but the documentation just doesn't support that fact. One of the most memorable cases was early in my career. I was called in after a fatality. The training and the task had been conducted, but the only proof was an email that his crew had to attend training on that day. Their time cards reflected it, but there was no other documentation. And at that point, the third-party instructor had vanished. The company had no defense for that citation. Other times, I see a page ripped out of a notebook with the title of the class written on it, a date, and a bunch of illegible names scratched onto it. Who are these people? What was the training outline? Who was a facilitator? Was the instructor qualified to teach the class? This is another example of good intentions and poor documentation of the training process. I'm going to reference some OSHA standards and pull a few of my own ideas from my own experience into this next presentation. The first reference is a great one to know about. It's called Training Requirements for OSHA Standards, publication 2254. It's a cheat sheet of all the times that OSHA standards set training criteria. An important thing to mention is that a lot of standards have different documentation requirements. I would suggest generating a list and then creating a new training document template that meets all of the standards. The scope of this article will focus on general industry and construction for documentation requirements and instructor qualifications. I will not cover the required training content or the length of record retention or expirations. I'm going to leave all that alone. That's for another session. So let's start with the basics. The name of the training session, the date of the training session, and the name of the participants. Some cases it also requires job titles. That's a pretty low bar. Several standards require other items. One of them is a course outline, and that could be a bulleted list of the major topics that you're talking about. In other cases, the training has to be certified. That means the instructor signs that I certify this training was complete. Certification of training. Signature of the instructor has to be on some of these. And other cases that ask for the qualifications of the instructor. The name and address of the trainer. Sometimes it requires you to provide them the means of verification of understanding of the content. What that means is that you gave them a quiz or there was a hands-on assessment, you've done something, you've done a job safety observation afterwards. Sometimes they want a statement of completion, which is I completed this class, which is very similar to the certification. List of equipment used in training, especially with forklift. You say I drove this machine, this serial number in my training, and other times with respirators, you need to say the model of respirator you used. Some standards require that you have issue a certificate, and that certificate needs to be numbered and tracked. Date of evaluation is another one. So in this case right here, I'm going to go back to the forklift standard in 1910-178, where you have to have the name of the instructor and the signature of the instructor, but then you have to have the date of the evaluation and the name and signature of the evaluator. And if you say I was instructor and the evaluator, you might find yourself in a little bit of a quandary because it requires both. So you either have to print your name and sign twice or put both titles on there. Once again, name and signature evaluator is one of those topics.